I looked in the mirror and said, all the decisions that I've been making were to please other people, were to make other people. I really had to have a moment of, who is Devante? Who am I?
Okay, welcome to another edition of the Journey to Freedom podcast. And I'm Dr. B. I'm your host here today, as excited as ever. I'm here in Denver, Colorado. We got a blizzard going on outside, but it's nice and toasty here, inside my house. And so it's when the wind kicks up. If you guys are, know about snow and cold and wherever you're from, snow doesn't bother me at all. It's when that wind starts blowing around, and that's when it is no bueno. And that's what I managed for today as we get started. And I got Devante on today, which is just going to be exciting because when you think of success leaving clues and, somebody who's doing some things in life that either you've dreamed of doing or you thought you could make a difference in something and you try stuff, right? We all go out and we say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make it happen. And we try it and then it doesn't work. And then for some of us, we just keep going and eventually it works. For some of us, we give up. For some of us, our relatives and everybody else who are telling us it's not going to work, we start taking note and saying, well, I guess you're right. I really can't do this. I'm really not good at this. But what happens is you begin to create momentum. And so usually when one thing goes good, another thing goes good, and another thing goes. But I'm not saying that there's not two sides of a coin here, right? Because the law of polarity in our world says that there are two sides to absolutely everything. Nothing has just one side to it. And so like you've never seen a two-sided one-sided pancake or a one-sided piece of paper or one-sided coin or, those things don't exist. There's always two sides. So that same momentum, if you're having a very, what they call it, a no good, very bad day, whatever it is, it seems like that momentum takes off too. A very no good, very bad month, and that takes off. And so we got to stop that in its tracks, move it forward. Well, today we're going to hear about the momentum that's on the good side, the momentum that helps carry us forward to things that are happening and why those things happen. And so I would encourage you to take notes. At least, whether you subscribe or you notify or whatever you do so that you can go back and listen to this again if you're in a position. Like if you're in a car right now, I'm probably saying don't take notes. If you're on a walk right now, go ahead and you can talk to your phone and take notes. I learned that I could take notes while I do this 3-mile walk. I do this 3-mile walk every day. And I'm always listening to podcasts or listening to somebody who's moving forward. And then they'll say something and I'm trying to figure out how am I going to write that down or text it to myself or, I didn't bring my own piece of paper with me, and then realize I can just go to my, at least I have an iPhone. I guess you can do this on an Android, but I can just go to my, my text messages. I can text myself and I can talk to it and it writes it down. And then when I get home, I have it written and I can actually read it. Because if you've ever tried to write something while you're walking or moving, and then go back and try it. I can't read it when I'm sitting at my desk trying to just write it, let alone trying to figure out how I'm going to do it while I'm walking somewhere. So there is my success clue for today. If you're on your walk and you're taking notes, use your text messaging, text yourself, and then you have it all written down for you. Don't try to go to the notes or all those things because you'll just get confused trying to do your phone. But text messaging, you know how to do that quickly. All right, Devante, I'm sorry I took up some of the time that we have together today, but I want to know your story. I want to know where you came from. You don't have to start at your mama's womb, but you can start somewhere in there and then tell us, about your upbringing. I don't know how much you know about the Journey to Freedom, but I started it a little bit over a year ago because I went to this Trust Edge great seminar by a guy named David Horsager. It was in Minnesota. We're talking about trust and showing up with trust and being able to trust people. And there's 400 people and 30 folks of color in the room. And I'm going, where are all of our community? Because our community has trouble trusting. We don't trust other races. We don't trust our own race. We don't trust ourselves. We have a trust issue. There's this incredible information that's being given. And so I came back and had a conversation with God, and he said, I said, I just want to work with folks of color. And he said, no, I want you to work with some Black men. And I'm like, but I don't know if I want to work with just Black men, because we go round and round for a while, right? Because we don't want to talk to each other. We don't want to, tell people what's really going on. We want to talk about all the other stuff. And so I started this podcast a year ago. My goal last year was to do 100 Black men, and we did 105. And there's some just incredible stories that we did, and we got it done. And all of those stories, for those of you who are watching now, and this may be your first time, there you will find several people in there that you can relate to. Whether you're a dad, whether you're a husband, whether you had a dad that was, incarcerated, or had a dad that was a drug dealer, all those pieces are part of those interviews. And today is no exception, is one you're going to watch. So start your story, tell us what you're doing and how you're doing it, and then we'll just chop it up from there. So thank you for being on.
Man, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me, honestly, and I love what you're doing. Truly, I do. I love what you're doing for the community and for the culture. It's important. It's important because, we are present. Whether that be, as fathers, as husbands, as, part of the, what do they call that? High value men, whatever, we are present, and to have a platform to come and speak on is important. I always say that representation matters. And so we need to see each other in these moments, right? In these roles. And so, honestly, man, my story's funny, man. I'm the oldest of 20 children.
What?
Yeah, the oldest.
20. I got 8, and I got a lot of kids compared to 20 children.
I'm the oldest of 20 children. My mom started off young, man. My mom, she actually just turned 50. I'm 35, so she had me at 15 years old.
Okay.
So she started off very, very young. My mom and my dad were very young when they first had me, and just didn't stop. Just didn't stop. And so, you know what? They had it so young that my mom was still in her parents' house. So I grew up in my grandparents' house, and my grandparents just so happened to be in the military. And then when they got out of the military, they opened up their own church. So they knew their pastors, right? So, man, you want to talk about, people tell me all the time I have an old soul. For 35, man, it's like, man, you wise beyond the years. It's like, well, I grew up with some sage wisdom around me.
Yeah, yes, you did. And for the first, 20 years of your life, you had siblings that you had to take care of.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. You didn't have a choice. I know you didn't have a choice. There was no room that you get to go sit on and play video games by yourself, and just be the introvert of possibility. That did not happen in your home. So
Didn't happen. I had to use sports as an escape, right? I had to go out, oh mom, I got practice, I can't do it. And so, born into a military household. I was raised on an island called Whidbey Island. It's up here in Washington State. So very, very, very small community. I think we probably have just over 25,000 people that live in Whidbey Island now. And I moved away. I moved to a place called Bellingham, Washington. My wife, myself, and my son, we moved here in 2020, June of 2020. So, I mean, when COVID was at its peak, but I would say that my success really started in 2017, though.
Okay.
2017 was probably the most important year of my life. That was the first year that I looked in the mirror and said, you know what? All the decisions that I've been making were to please other people, were to make other people happy. And so I really, really, really had to have a moment of, what is Devante? Who is Devante? Who am I? And what makes me happy, right? And so that was like my first, I say it jokingly, but my first selfish year, right? The first year that I was like, you know what, I got to do something for me, like to where I can go home, I can lay my head on my bed and be proud of the things that I'm doing. And so I was working at a restaurant. In totality, for 8 years, I was working at this restaurant. And around year 6, was around 2017, late 2017, I had a friend from church come in and her family. And I sat them. I wasn't their server, but I sat them and, greeted them. And then the next day at church, they came up to me, like, hey man, oh, the food was great, man. Thank you so much. And then Wendy Gittens, it was the lady that came in. She said, hey, but when we came in, I noticed that you kind of put your head down as if you were ashamed of where you're at. Man, that was a pivotal moment in my life because I knew that I was tired of being in the restaurant industry because I felt as if there was much more out there for me, but I kept that on the inside. But having somebody point the mirror back at me and say, hey, it's starting to manifest, you know what I mean, outwardly. Oh, brother, that hurt. That hurt, but it hurt so good because it was like, okay, that's a reality check that I needed at that moment in life, and so went from there, and I knew that I wanted more, and yet I still stayed at that restaurant for 2.5 more years until COVID happened. And with respect to everybody who lost, COVID was the best thing that ever happened to me because it shut down the restaurant. I'll never forget it. March 17th, 2020, I was jobless for the first time since sophomore year of high school. Right. And I'm just like, what's happening? I got a wife who she was in the military. Like we met when she was in the military, and she was away on a deployment. I got a son who's they're scrambling. Like, what do we do for the kids now? Like they can't go to school, and I'm jobless, and I was scared, but I was also so excited because I was like, yo, I get to do something that, like, man, I'm free. I'm free. Like I wanted to make the decision to leave this restaurant, but I couldn't. Yeah, right. And so I'm free. And so like for a couple of years before this, like that moment when Wendy talked to me, in between that moment when Wendy talked to me and March 17th, I was doing a lot of mindset transformation and breaking down paradigms, because growing up with such a strong foundation in Christ and in church, I'm thinking, well, the natural progression is I'm going to be a pastor. I was already a worship pastor at that moment. I'll just go full-time ministry. And not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but that's all that I had in my head. That's all that I knew. You feel me? And absolutely. So I knew, but I was like, yeah, I can do that. But I don't feel that that's where God is calling me. Right? Yeah. So
yeah. Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like I'm a worshiper. I don't need to be in the four walls right now. God is calling me to something to where I'm building a platform. And so I took a drive. I saw a video of this guy named Tim Cornwell. He's a local real estate agent out here in Bellingham, Washington, and has a very, very, very reputable name. Okay. He was looking for some team members. And so I was like, well, I mean, I don't know nothing about real estate, but I fell in love with his mindset. I was like, yo, this dude seems cool. He seems like he's doing something in a bigger pool than what I'm doing right now in this small pond. Right. And so went up and had a great conversation with him and his team. And they're like, you know what? Hey, if you go get your real estate license, man, we would love to have you. And I'm just like, whoa, real estate. They sold me on like, you're the product. Like, of course, people are buying houses, but they have to choose somebody to work with. And you're just a likable person. Like you have the personality for this. You could go out and you can crush it. You can easily make over 100,000 a year. And I'm 100,000. I'm used to making 65 and thinking that, I'm on top of the world. Right. And so what happened was I actually ghosted Tim. I said yes. And then my wife, she was overseas. And that was when we had this conflict with somebody in the Middle East, and they retaliated and bombed one of our bases. My wife was at that base, and I was like freaking out. No. Yeah, I was freaking out. It was like, radio silent for like 2 weeks. I am like, 2
weeks. Oh gosh.
2 weeks. And so I'm scared. And finally she reaches out, hey, babe, just want to let you know I'm safe. We just got comms back up. We'll be home soon. And so on their route home, COVID is kind of hitting everybody on the ship. So they had to stay out a little longer. Like it was a rough time. And so I told her, I was like, I don't have the wherewithal to make a move right now. So man, she gets back and I'm so excited. We have these conversations, my wife and I, is like think of like, red table talk, with like Will and Jada, right? And I asked her this one question, man. I don't know if you're married or not, but man, listen, hey, I said, babe, is there anything that, I've done that has disappointed you or that has let you down? Vulnerable moment. You know what I mean?
Ooh, but I don't know if I could ask that question.
Hey, look, hey, I dare you to though, because if you have a queen, man, she's not gonna beat you up.
Oh
She
yeah,
can
she
build
would.
you up.
She did. Oh
You know
my
what I
God.
mean? And so, my wife, she was like, you know what? You were super excited about talking with Tim and going out and being a real estate agent. She's like, I saw a fire in you. You know what I mean? That I haven't seen in a
Mhm.
while. And I was kind of disappointed when you kind of just let that go to the wayside.
Mhm. Yeah,
I tell my wife often, our lives have changed because of that one conversation. So to get into real estate, the barrier of entry is not the highest. You have to take depending on what state you're in, you have to take this course. It's like either 90 hours, 120 hours, or whatever have you. And then you have to take this 4-hour test. And so I took this test, took the course,
Mhm.
only 2 weeks. I'm like, yo, wifey says she was disappointed. I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna go get it, right? And so went and got my cert and everything. And then I told Tim, hey, listen, I'm on. Let's go. And from that moment on, man, it has been amazing, amazing, amazing each year. And I've been in this for almost 5 years now. And the things that I've accomplished in 5 years is probably, I don't want to say unheard of, but it's very uncommon.
yeah.
Uncommon.
Okay.
And so, so I got into real estate, and I'm having a good time. And I got into real estate in a whole different city. So I'm about an hour and some change away from everything that I've ever known. You know what I mean? So new people, new community, like new swagoo, they dress different out here. You know, like it's like that. And so my journey to freedom, honestly, it began with mindset, and then it began with having an honest conversation with my wife, and then just like wanting more for myself. You gotta chase it. Like we all have that unctioning or that feeling like, man, there's more out there. And I would rather live with the regret of trying and failing than staying the
Mhm.
same.
And then saying it would, should, coulda, right? That's the
Yeah.
I'll go back to it. I just would have. I would, everybody who invented something, if I would have just put it to market or whatever, right? But no, you went out and did it, which is a huge statement of what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have children or just siblings?
So so what's funny is I'm one and done, man. I have a 12-year-old son, and my wife and I are like, we're good because I have so many siblings that he could just go play with one of his uncles and aunts. You know?
Exactly. I love it. I love it. Oh, cool. Gosh, one of the things there's so many things to unpack in just a little bit that you talked to me about that I want to spend some time with.
Yeah.
One is a great relationship with the spouse. One of the themes that happens a lot is about relationships and how we move along and the roles that each other plays. And I can tell you have a supportive wife, and you have a wife that you probably talk to a lot. How big of a deal has that been, do you believe? Because you might not know anything different, right? You don't been on the road, we don't, but you believe that it's been in your success or you being able to move forward.
Oh man, you know what? I tell her this all the time, and she's probably tired of hearing it, but I'm not where I am or who I am today without her. Honestly, and it's something different when you're with a beautiful queen. You know what I mean? You feel what I'm saying? Because they understand. They live the same world in the same world as we do. I don't have to explain the isms and schisms of being an African American male in America to another African queen because she gets it. And so, man, she encourages me. There was moments where she spoke to the king in me when I was still thinking like a prince, still thinking like a boy. You know what I mean? In a way that kind of reminded me. And I told you I grew up with my grandparents, but I also grew up with my great grandparents in the house as well. And so I
Really?
saw my mom, my grandmother, and my great grandmother and how they interacted with their husbands. My wife reminds me so much of my grandmother and my great grandmother that it's almost scary. The way that she can speak to me in such a calm and beautiful way, but can move mountains in my mind, in my heart. You know what I mean? In those moments where you're feeling like, yo, I have to do this, I gotta be great. And she's just like, babe, you're doing such a great job. And it just quiets the whole scene. Man, I don't want to make it sound like a movie, man, but I have found my queen. I found the person that I'm building a kingdom with, and honestly, it just makes everything so. I don't want to say easy, but it makes things easier, and it makes things. It fills me.
Well, and when for those watching, you go through times like everything. I don't want you to think that Devante's life has just been perfect for 30 for his whole life, because I can promise you he's had ups and downs. And so when those downs, when you have a partner or a person who, gets to walk you through those, but can still be positive. Because I know a lot of people, and you may be one of these people that is, well, I don't know if it's going to work for them. And even if you're thinking those thoughts and you have a spouse, you can't tell them that they suck and they're doing bad. And you have to be that person that steps above and believes in them and lets them know that you can do it. Let them know that you can support them, because that means everything in the evolution of success is having those people and those communities around you that lift you up. I'm doing on Sunday nights, it's called the Why Love Waits. And it's from the premise that 50% of Black women who are over the age of 40 have never been married in this country right now. And 75% of those have children. And so they decided they can raise their kids themselves, that they can do whatever they need. They don't need a man. And we're going back and forth on this. And a lot of it is these conversations. And, we were watching a video where the guy is just telling, you're not, he goes, the lady on the video that we watched said, she said, well, I'm a 10. I'm a Christian woman. I have all these things to give, I want to give. I can cook, I can clean, I can work, I can do all these things. I'm a 10. And he says, you're not a 10. You're not perfect. I'm talking about the way you look. I'm telling you right now, you're not a 10. I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Why do you need to tell this person that, where does that serve anything?
Right.
That you get to just tear somebody down. Does that make you feel better? Does that make you feel more like a man? That you can tell another woman that she's not all that? I mean, does she need to know that you think that? I mean, I don't understand that world. And then, today I get to hear from you and say, wait a minute, no, we have a partnership that is just unbelievable. Yeah, everything's not great all the time, but at least when times are, we work through it together, which I think is so, which goes to, go ahead and talk about that a little bit, and we can.
Yeah. So, it hasn't been perfect. What happened was COVID happened in our relationship. And so we had to get to know each other in a very intimate space, right? Like, he gave me the house. And I heard that divorce rate skyrocketed. Divorces skyrocketed during COVID because people were like in the house with each other so much. Like, I don't really like this person, right? And then a year after COVID, my wife was diagnosed with pulmonary embolisms. So we were out, we were playing basketball. We were a very active family. And we were there for maybe 5 minutes. And she's like, babe, something's wrong. She's like, faints. Like, I got to catch her. Take her into the hospital. And I think, let me see, she was 29 at this time. Doctor said, man, you got blood clots all throughout your lungs. And I'm like, what? Like, she was just in the military. If they would have caught that, like, something would have happened. So where did this come from? And so he said, you're the youngest person I've ever put on blood thinners. And so, I'm new into entrepreneurship. I'm new into a new area. And it's just like, whoa, what are we doing? We're dealing with some heavy stuff already. And then almost a year to the day, in June of 22, we're in an intimate moment, and I felt something in her breast. And I'm like, babe, and it wasn't like a small, like a nipple. Like, I felt something. I'm like, babe, and we're still young, so it's not like we're infrequent. And I hate to be graphic, but it was big. And I'm like, babe, I've never felt this before. We go in, and within 2 weeks, she's on chemo because she has stage 2 breast cancer. So, man, when I tell you it hasn't always been easy, man, the heck no. And so she had to go through 16 rounds of chemo. She had to have a double mastectomy, and we're sub 35. You know what I mean? We're still young. All this is happening, new into both of our careers. She got out of the military, graduated with her master's degree, and went into she's a mental health therapist now. I got into real estate. She's working a 9 to 5, which she's used to. I'm working, entrepreneur hours, which could be 9 to 5, could be 9 to 9, could be, whatever. And so we're trying to navigate all this, all while, we're having medical battles year to year. And so she had to have a double mastectomy, then a reconstruction surgery, and prayerfully, thankfully, she is in full remission. But that moment is a moment that I'll never forget, because she she joined this community of other sisters who have who are going through cancer, and almost all of them got divorced. Almost all of their husbands left, or almost all their husbands cheated. And I told her, I said, babe, I'm not gonna lie to you. I I see why other men may have cheated or other men may have left, because there's something about a woman, that nurturing aspect that far exceeds what's naturally deposited in men. And when your wife is struggling with her health, you have to almost alter things about you as a man, to where now you are the nurturer. Now you are taking care of your wife on a degree that you're not accustomed to. And man, I'm telling you, it was hard. It was so hard. There was moments where she's crying because the chemo literally is making her bones hurt.
Oh
And
my
I can't, as a man, take that and just put it on
God.
myself, or take that from her and throw it away. Right.
Yes.
And as men, we're fixers. We're like, okay, here's a problem. Give me a hammer. Boom, boom, it's done. With something like that, there's no boom, boom, it's done. And
Yeah.
so thank God I have some amazing friends. I call my best friend Rod. And I was like, bro, like, I'm struggling, man. I feel as if I'm failing my wife right now because I can't take this from her. And he said something so profound. I don't even know if he remembers what he said, but he said, you got to remember why she fell in love with you. He's like, every day that she comes home, man, make her put a smile on her face, bro. Make her laugh. Like, let her, like, just relax. Be her peace when she's at home. And I'm just like, it hit me because, okay, that is my way to help her, walk her through this, and that changed everything. So from that day on, it was just like, you know what, I'm going to pour everything I have into making her feel beautiful, making her feel good, making, like, helping her realize that we're in this together. You know what I mean? Like, it's so, when you have a battle with cancer, it really changes your perspective on things. And the way that we navigated that, with an amazing community and an amazing God, bro, I I really say that somebody tries to come in between me and her, because listen, it's been
Man, I love that so much because things are going through my mind, and I have not quite the extreme similarities. My wife has rheumatoid arthritis, and we're always doing stuff. And I think of, like, COVID, and we're in the house together, and and then I never let we both work from home. She has an embroidery business. She had that kind of same thing where it did it for you, like the job she had, which is an online marketing thing, said, "Nope, we're leaving you off." Okay, you're now full-time in embroidery, right? Because you're doing your business. But what your story is so, I guess, indicative, and we're both men of faith, and we start thinking about our God and the things, but the way that he designed us, right? When you're able to put everything into serving another, when you learn how to do that in a way that's not selfish anymore. It's not, I'm not serving you so that I can get, which is a lot of what entrepreneurs do, and a lot of times, right? I'm going to go out, as a real estate agent, and I'm going to, I'm going to show you how I can be the best agent and serve you as a client. But some of us that do that are in that possession, do it so that the commission can come, right? And once you realize the commission isn't coming, you stop calling them. I'm not that way, but I know a whole lot of people that have done that. But then when you can serve unselfishly, then God takes care of everything else that you got going, right? Because there's something about you and how you now present yourself to the world that is attractive, that people want to be around, that people want to do business with, that want to, everything seems to flow when you're willing to do that. So I appreciate you telling that story, because for other men or whoever's watching this today, going, okay, wait a minute, yes. He literally, and you can see not just in your words, because words matter, but because we're doing it on video. And if you guys are listening to this on a podcast that's audio, I would encourage you to go to YouTube and watch it as well, because you can see on Devante's face, no, I'm doing this because I love my wife. I'm doing this because I want her to get better, not selfishly because I want her to get better so she can go cook me dinner later on. It's selfishly because I just want her to be better. And I appreciate that. And it goes to your identity. I think identity is everything. Are there other ways that your identity was shaped throughout your life? A big family, huge, but who are the other characters that help you become the man that you are today?
Yeah, you know what? I have to give a shout out to my dad, man.
Okay.
It's a lot happened, when my mom and my dad had me at such a young age. And then with my grandparents being in the military, um, I was born in California. My mom got pregnant by my dad, who is 2 years older than my mom. And so military stationed us to Whidbey Island. So they were split for a long time. Split. Like I grew up without my dad physically around. And then I didn't necessarily have the greatest relationship with my father because he wasn't necessarily there. It wasn't that he was a bad person. It was just everything happened so young, you know what I mean? And then there were states apart that, he was kind of hamstrung for a long time. And so I remember the turning point though, around like 14 or 15, I was like, you know what, I'm going to get to know my dad. Like, I don't care. Nobody nobody in my mom's side of the family spoke ill about my dad at all. I was like, you know what, I'm going to take it upon myself. I'm going to get to know my dad. So I would call him. And he knows this story, it hurts a little bit, but it's a beautiful ending. And he wouldn't answer. And so if he answered, hey dad, what's up? Hey son, hey, I hope you're doing all right. All right, I gotta go. And man, if it was 30 seconds, I'd be elated. You know what I mean? And so just grew up without that relationship. And I remember it was right before my graduation from high school. I called, and it's funny because his birthday is really close to graduation. I called and I was going to invite him to my graduation. I have 2 tickets. You can bring whoever you want. Just come up. I would love to see you there. Wow. And he didn't answer. And so I left a message. And this message wasn't, hey, I had 2 tickets. It was, this is my last time calling you. I've been trying to call you for years. I've been trying to foster this relationship for years. And I can't put myself through it anymore. And I hung up. And what's crazy is my dad's wife, not my mom, my dad's wife called me back. Somebody I didn't know. Called me back. Hey, don't give up on your dad. He loves you so much. Now, I'm an 18-year-old boy. I'm like, 1, who is this? 2, like he has a whole other family, like a whole, you know what I mean? Like how many kids is my dad? And so like it hurt, but I felt some sense of like, okay, maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And so I stuck to it. I kept calling. And then 21, when I turned 21.
So for 3 years?
For 3 years. Okay. From 3 years after that call where I was like, I'm never calling. Kept calling. And at the age of 21 is where my dad and I's relationship just took off. He came up for my wedding and, he brought the whole gang. I'm meeting brothers and sisters that I've never met before. And like, it was just so beautiful. And so every week since then, we talk at least once, if not multiple times every week. And it took from 21 to 27 for me to hear these words. I'm so proud of you, son. I love you, son. And that's why I said when I was 27, that was probably one of the most pivotal years in my life. That was the first time that I called my dad, instead of, all right, talk to you later. And then it was the first time that my dad and I got off the phone and said, love you to each other. And there's something about that reconciliation. And I don't care how long it took, it happened. There's something about that reconciliation that freed me to be a better man. And it freed me to be an amazing father. I have a son of my own. I told him, buddy, there will never be a day until the Lord takes me that you will know without me. You know what I'm saying? Like, because of what I didn't have with my dad, but also because of what I do have with my dad now. My son doesn't know a day without his grandfather, my dad. And it's just because of that moment that happened. And I'm not, and he's an amazing entrepreneur. I look up to him in every single way. So
that is so cool. And hope for people who goes, I don't have that relationship, or my dad wasn't around, that it's important that we continue to try to foster relationships, because relationships are everything. Yes. And so many stories I hear that way. And one of our themes has been is about fatherhood, all these different aspects of relationships. And one of the questions that I love to ask, and hopefully you can speak to it, is we already know it's so important for kids to have a dad, to have somebody that they can, love on them, protect them, grow up with. And so many of us didn't have them, but it's important that the kids get that. I mean, for their ability to thrive, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But for us to be dads, what is the feeling, or how does it change us as men to be able to be the protector, to be able to be the provider, to be able to be that man who has another person who's part of them and bring them up? Because I want to speak to the dads who are maybe struggling. They got the moms, the mom of their baby. I won't call them baby dad or baby mom or whatever. Maybe help them struggle. Like, no, I'm not going to let you see the kid until you pay all your child support. Or no, I don't like the way you parent, and all those things. But how important it is to you become a different person when you get to be a dad. And maybe you can speak to that a little bit of, you didn't have that growing up, but then it changed how you became a dad and what your responsibility. But how does it change you as a man being able to take care of another human?
It's a beautiful thing. It's scary because there's no blueprint, especially if you and your father's relationship isn't the best, right? It's like, holy crap, who do I talk to? There's no blueprint, but at the same time, there's a natural element, we're protectors, and especially to our, that's my child, like that. I birthed that. That is, and so I actually saw this quote that I absolutely agree with, and they said that your father's the only man in your life, and they're talking to men. Your father's the only man in your life that genuinely wants you to do better than him in life, and that sums up, my answer to that question. Everything that I'm doing is to where my ceiling will be my son's floor, and he's already living a better life at 12 than I could have imagined living for myself. You know what I mean? Oftentimes I'm like, boy, you're spoiled, man. Go out there and mow the lawn. But it's just and it's hard. It's tough because you want to protect them from everything.
Yeah.
But you can't.
No.
You honestly, you'd be doing them a disservice if you protected them from everything. So I think that's the hardest part is watching them go through things, that they need to learn from. Like my son this year, he's in 7th grade and he just got his first girlfriend, Maria, and he's so in love and everything. I'm like, hey, I love it. I'm honored that you let me into that part of your world. You know what I mean? He tells me about it. Dad, she wrote me this letter and I wrote her a letter back. I'm like, all right, you got a little swag on you, boy. But, but oftentimes, buddy, she probably gonna break your heart. And that first heartbreak sucks, but it's par for the course. So
yeah, it's gonna happen. Oh my gosh, it just and since I'm definitely older than you, because I'm going to turn 60 in March. So so my kids are older. So I have 5 boys, 3 girls, and like you said, I love that quote. You generally want your kids to do better. But here's what's kind of crazy about it, because my oldest is 36. He's doing great. He works for Pixar. I got like a Pixar shirt on right now.
Nice.
And my other kids, he's in the entertainment business, doing well. I mean, my boys are doing ones, even my son-in-laws, because I have other sons because my daughters got married, and I want them all to do better than me. However, I don't want them to do better than me right now. So when they start doing it, I'm like competing. I'm never going to retire because I'm competing to make sure that I get to continue to be the example. And I never thought I'd be there. Yeah, I want to, so when I die, then they can be better. But no, like literally, it's so fun. Like they call me like, hey, I got another promotion, or I got this, and I'm making, oh no, you can't pass me up. I got to pay for dinner. You can't pay for dinner. It's so, oh my gosh, it is. You get something to look forward to, because now, I have incredible relationships with all of them, but it's at the same time, I'm taking a group of Black men to Alabama at the end of this month to do a civil rights tour, so we can talk about getting unstuck and who came before us and that kind of stuff. And a couple of my boys are going with me, so I get to share, not only what we've all gone through, just the things that are there. And so I'm on my second marriage now, just because things just didn't work the way we did, And so we're blended. So that's what the 8 kids is part of the blended family. And so my son's, the blended family's son, his great grandfather was Frederick Douglass. So now I got to compete with, when we go down there, we see everything. I compete with one when he finds out about real grandpa, right? And all the things he's done, which I think he knows. But just, oh my gosh, what a joy it is to be a dad and to be able to do some of the things that we're able to do. So let's talk about what I'd love to move into. You become an entrepreneur now. So you are now learning a different mindset and what it takes to the ups and downs of, hey, if I don't do anything, then I have no money coming in. It's like nobody else is taking care of my family. I had to. How was that shift in the things that you did to be able to become what you're doing? And what are some of the things you're doing now that help you continue to grow?
Yeah, one of the beautiful things about entrepreneurship is it's untapped. So the harder you work, the better you are, the more you can make. There is no salary. There isn't like you'll only make $5,000 this month. The harder you work and the better you are, the more you get paid. And so with that being said, when I got into real estate, I was like, you know what? Cool. Hey, anybody can build a house, but there's only one Devante. And so I'm going to be the product. I'm going to master this craft. I'm going to know everything about my county, and I'm going to know exactly who I serve. And so that's actually what I teach and I coach now. So the first year, I did amazing. I did 10 sales, which was like nobody on my team had done 10 sales in the first year. And then every year, hey, my first year was my first time ever making over 6 figures. And then it has been better and better and better ever since. And even last year, when everybody's like, this is the worst year in real estate, like, people are getting out. And I think there's a statistic that said in 2024, over 50% of the agents, I think it was close to like 65. I sold 0 to 2 houses that year. Mm-hmm. That's scary. You can't live on that. You can't live on that. So that's scary. But in a year that, so many had a hard time, it was my best year. Last year was my best year ever in real estate. And this is while writing a book. And this is while speaking speaking nationally, on stages, 1 in 5,000 other agents in attendance. Right. And so I got really clear on who I am, really clear on who my ideal client is. And then I built systems and processes to essentially perpetuate me being in front of that ideal client, like physically and online being in front of my ideal client. And I'm telling you that right there. I mean, you rinse and repeat. Now I don't have to go and chase clients. People are calling me. People are texting me. People are emailing me. People are responding to Instagram and YouTube videos from me. And so that has been my one of my journeys to freedom. I love it.
Wow. Okay. You said, you keep saying so much stuff, and I want to unpack it because I'm hearing it because I've lived it and I know it, but I want people to understand it. One of the things that you brought up a second ago is just how important it is to work on your craft and work on you and become a different you that you are. I had a great analogy yesterday that I had never heard before that I think I'm going to use all the time now. And he was talking about like professional athletes or professional football players, or even if you're in high school or you're in college and you're an athlete. And he said, if you're playing football, you might start working out in March, April, May, lifting weights, working outs, getting up early, doing the weights, doing all the things it takes so that you can play 11 Saturdays or Sundays for 1 hour of playing time, right? You work as hard as you possibly can, but we won't put that into ourselves when we're doing the thing that we're spending our whole life doing, right? As a kid and an athlete, you will spend a year of your life getting better. I was thinking when I went and got my master's, and my doctorate was kind of different because I didn't have to go in. I did more of that online. But I would drive to the school 3 times a week to take a night class because I was teaching during the day for 4 hours, and it took 2 years of my life, just about every semester, to do it. And I was willing to pay somebody to do it.
Yeah.
right? So I could get a master's. And now, and I go, okay, entrepreneurs or people in business, they won't spend the time like you spent. Like you said, you developed systems and processes. Well, you didn't know how to do that before. Somebody had to help you. You had to have some coaches. You had to have some people.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you were willing to do that, right? I mean, to develop that stuff. I mean, why do you, I believe that's why you're succeeding, but why do you think others around you aren't willing to do that? Or what was within you that said, wait, I'm going to do this because this is my life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hey, hungry dogs are gonna eat, man. Hungry dogs are gonna eat. But honestly, it will cost you. I mean, it's exactly what you're saying. It's going to cost you. If you're not willing to put in the time, then you got to pay with that dime. It's going to cost you. And so I've been willing to invest my time and a lot of money to be where I'm at today. And then also, you know what? It doesn't. All you have to do is ask. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people, when they get into entrepreneurship, they're like, oh, I'm gonna wear all the hats. I'm bald, man. I ain't got time to wear all the hats. Right? I will delegate everything that I can. Do what you do best and hire out the rest is my motto. Right. And so what I do is I make sure to put myself in rooms where I'm the least of. I'm the least successful person. I'm not the richest person in there. I'm not the best looking person, whatever have you. I put myself in that room. I ask great questions and then I shut up and listen. So that's how I invest my time. I invest my time by getting in the rooms with literally millionaires and billionaires. And now I have those people in my rock. I can call. Hey man, great job last night. I was just wondering, blah, blah, blah. And now they're investing in me because one thing that successful people love to do is they love to talk about themselves and how they got success.
Tell me. Yes, absolutely.
And hey, look, I like to listen.
Let me be that fly on the wall. In fact, every chance I get, and listen, because some of us want to just keep talking. No, I haven't done what you've done.
Right.
You need to listen. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. And I love what you said. Do what you do best and hire the rest. I think when I think of like our Jewish culture, one of the things that they figured out how to do is specialize. Yep. Right? I don't need to cut my own grass. I don't need to wash my own car. I don't need to do all, the million things. Now, and maybe at the beginning you do because you don't have enough money to do it. But if you can be really good at something, be good at that and quit trying to do everything.
Right.
Quick question here is there's a cost to, not just money, because I think you have to have a budget no matter what that spends money on you every single year if you're going to make it in life, to me. But there's a cost of the things that we want now for delayed gratification. And I think of like all the folks when you go to the barbershop, right? They know everything about Patrick Mahomes. I barely even know what he looks like because I'm not watching. I love football. I coach football. I play football. It's a great sport. I'll watch the Super Bowl, but I'm not spending all day Sunday or all day Saturday knowing more stats about them than I know about my own kids or about one of my own kids. I mean, but that's what, I guess the cost is giving up. In your mind,
so it's going to cost you. So one part of that story when my wife had cancer, I didn't tell you is I told my wife, I was like, I went almost 4 months, and this was my second year in real estate, which was really great. But I went almost 4 months without selling the house because I didn't know how to go out there and sell a house and be away from my wife while she was dealing with this. Right. And that's a cost too. In one of my wife's darkest moments when she needs me the most, it will cost me to be away from her to continue to build this empire. And so I told her, and again, it's one of those honest moments, babe, I am absolutely struggling right now. I want to be here with you and I don't care about anything else.
Yeah.
And she released me. She's like, babe, listen, I'm going to be all right. We have everything we need in order to make sure that I'm okay. The last thing we need is anything financial happening. And she's like, go out there and do what you have to do. So she released me to go out there and work, right? So it cost me that time to be at home with my wife while she's, while she's going through cancer. So it's absolutely going to cost you. Everybody who has made it to the top has paid a hefty price. you know. And so the common man, you know, I don't care what white, black, Puerto Rican, Chinese, whatever you are, the common man is not ready to pay that price. And that's why there's 1%ers.
Yeah, no, I mean, because it becomes even more important to you when you are away, because you know you want to be with your wife, that you're not going to waste time chewing the fat or whatever you say. You know, you're going to learn what your county looks. You're going to learn, you know, all these skill sets that you need in order to be great at what you do, because you are giving up where you want to be for that second that you're going to do it.
Exactly.
You know, and that is very, I mean, it's so neat that back to her supporting you and saying, no, because I know that's where you wanted to be and where you were able to be. And I'm sure you were there probably more than some other people are there when they don't running around trying to run a real estate company at the same time, right? Yeah. which is so cool. And lessons we learn like this device here, I got to learn I can't be tethered to it, right? Because how many of the conversations that I have on here take away from, you know, the things that are really important or the things that I'm good at it. You know, now if I'm talking to, you know, clients, but I can't be there all the time, especially if I, you know, sacrifice my family and that kind of stuff. And that's what I get to tell my boys right now. They go, well, you're working so hard, Dad. I say, well, yeah, one, I got to compete with you. But the two things is you have my grandbabies you got to take care of. And I don't, because you guys are grown. So I have no excuse right now why I'm not growing, learning, spinning, getting up, you know, and doing the things that I need to do.
Even with you saying that, you know, it's beautiful. You have to acknowledge that that is a way for you wanting your kids to be greater than you. You're not stopping your success train. You're like, hey, listen, buddy, yeah, I'm about to turn 60. Hey, but I'll still put 10 on you. hey, but I'll still get another promotion. I'll still add another, you know, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to my end of the year. You know, can you do that? And you're spurring them on even in that way, which is a beautiful fathership trait that you have.
Yeah, no, it's just, it is so neat to see these things. I want to kind of talk about your faith and, you know, your belief. And, you know, some of us know who we are, but we don't know whose we are. You know, and how much that plays into how we become, because I can see God's hand on you in a big way. But I'd love for you just to kind of talk about what that relationship is like and how it helps you do better.
Yeah, so growing up in the church, man, I'm truly a pew baby. I was born in the pews, you know, raised in the pews, you know what I mean? There ain't a scripture that I don't know. And so it really took me until I was 17, actually, where I accepted Christ for myself, right? You know, grandmama and granddaddy and my mama, they all prayed and everything. And I was like, you know, God is going to do this, that, and the third. And I believed it, but it wasn't until 17. I was like, you know what? This has to be from and for me, right? Like it has to be from my heart to God and then for me. You know what I mean? They always say, you know, you can't get into heaven on grandmama's prayers, right? So at 21, I was appointed praise and worship leader. Now, I'm 21. I'm younger than everybody. So we had praise and worship members that were on the team since I was in diapers. You know what I mean? Like, and the church was growing and growing, and so it was really cool. I got to be in a leadership role at a young age, which, man, I'm telling you, like these little things that my grandparents and my sphere did for me before I was even cognizant of what they were doing for me has been amazing. And so I walked in that role for about 4 years and then was appointed praise and worship, the minister of praise and worship. And I did that for another 3 years. And so it's been amazing. It's been amazing to be able to walk with Christ. You know what I mean? And that's how my wife and I found each other. I used to have this band called Devante Blow and True Horizon. And we were hosting a concert. It was the first concert that I ever did that I sang all songs that I wrote. And I remember I invited she was just my girl. And it wasn't even my girlfriend. She was somebody that was just so beautiful. I just wanted to come to one of my concerts. And I was like, hey, come. And so she came and she was just like so beautiful. And the moment, like she used to wear these big old glasses. I used to call them birth control glasses. Yeah, my wife used to wear these big old glasses, and all I remember when I'm up there playing and singing is I remember looking over, and it's kind of dark, you know, and all I can see is her glasses and her smile. So much so that I forgot the words to the song that I wrote. All right.
Oh my God. And you wrote the song. I love it.
And I wrote the song, right? But so after that concert, we started talking, and then I invited her to, she sings as well. I invited her to be a part of the group, and that has been a staple in our marriage as well. It's just, hey, we met praising the Lord. And listen, even when she had cancer, we when she felt as if she could, she was on that stage praising the Lord in front of the church, and that has been a foundational piece, not only in my life, but my marriage as well.
Oh, that's so good. Thank you for sharing that. What haven't we talked about? What haven't we been, as we our time kind of runs out here today. I want to have more conversations with you eventually, but what do we not that you want to share, that you want everybody to know that,
Yeah, shameless plug, man. You know what? I have a book that's out. It's a best-selling book titled Just One Layup. It's a playbook for building real estate success, the playbook for building real estate success. But this book also, it crosses over. So if you're an entrepreneur, you'll be like, oh yeah, this, you'll definitely take some nuggets away from there. And then I have a coaching program as well that, it's layup mindset, right? And the premise behind that is, hey, what can you do on a daily basis? The easiest thing that you could do on a daily basis to continue to build momentum. There's one thing that you started off with, in the beginning, and that's why I resonated so well with it, is momentum is crazy effective. It will change your life. And so, like, for real estate agents, is that making 5 or 10 calls to people that just to see, check in and see if they need any help with real estate? Is that doing that on a daily basis? And then now, you're in the flow. I think about, and the reason why it's called layup mindset is Steph Curry in 2019. I don't know if you're a basketball fan, but Steph Curry in 2019 was having the worst game of his life. It was Game 6. They were going up against the Rockets. 0 points, first quarter, second quarter, and halfway through the third quarter. The first shot that he made was a layup. He went back to the basics. A lot of us in life, and this is not, I'm not just talking to real estate agents or entrepreneurs, this is life. A lot of us, when things get hard, we start to play what I like to call desperation ball. We just try to see if anything will stick. But get back to the basics. Why did you fall in love with that person? You know what I mean? Why did you commit your life to Christ? Why did you join this job? Things like that, and then build from there. So that's my shameless plug. I have a book out. I have a coaching program, but honestly, I'm just here to inspire other people, man.
Wow. Well, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being vulnerable, sharing your heart, sharing, stuff that happened with your family that, was tough and so, but I think we all get to learn from it. We all get to grow from it. We all get to, I have been blessed. I have, not only do I have notes, but I think I get to be a better person because we got to have this conversation together. And I hope for those of you who are watching and listening, that you take advantage. This is a book that I'm going to buy, that I'm going to say, just one layup, how can I get better at what I do? Is because I get to be around people who are better. And people, and there might be something that I do that I specialize in that I'm really good at, but not everything. And I want to learn from a whole lot of people. And so as you're watching these, please hit subscribe. Please hit your notification button. We're gonna come back to these. Here's what I would say for those of you who are just thinking: start a podcast, because you get, even if all you do is interview people and nobody watches it, you get to be a better person as a result of it. And so I don't know, I brought that up right now just because I was just thinking the last year of my life after interviewing, now I think you're 115 men, that I am a much, much better person than I was. And it wasn't that I was a bad person. I'm just a better person, right? And so thank you guys for watching. I can't wait to see you guys on the next one. You guys have an amazing, incredible day, and we will talk to you on the next one. Talk to you soon.